with Denise. I am your host. This is a brand new podcast. I'm very excited to launch. We are going live on YouTube every day, Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are replayed on YouTube and Instagram. I'm going to go ahead and show you my Instagram name is Denise.theinformedmama. We're also on YouTube at the California Brief. And we have an amazing guest today. I just want to do some quick housekeeping every day. Like I said, Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock, we are talking about all things politics in the state of California. I have been heavily involved inside politics here in the state for 10 years. And now I am talking to you about all the things that I have learned at the California Capitol. We have some amazing guests coming on this month. Today, we are going to bring on Amy Reichert. She is amazing advocate. She has been really investigating what is going on. I'm going to let her come on and introduce herself, but we are going to be talking about the mirror image of California and Minnesota and the fraud that has happened in Minnesota could be happening here in California. And so I'm going to bring her on. Super excited to have her. We are going to talk about some very, very spicy things here in the state. Hi,
Let's
Amy, how
go.
are you?
Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Thank you for coming on. I am stoked. I am seeing all of the work that you're doing. You're putting it on X and on Instagram, and Trump has retweeted you. So this is great, right? All of us in California have really been asking to have a huge flashlight on the policies of Gavin Newsom and the Democrats and how our tax money is being just poured into NGOs and no actual solutions coming to the table.
Yeah, this has been a topic of conversation actually since Trump took office with Doge and looking into these nonprofits under Biden that just doubled in how much government subsidies they received. Well, we know as people who live in the state of California that it's these NGOs and these unions that are putting these politicians in power, and these politicians are turning around and giving the money back to the NGOs and the unions, and it goes on and on and on. So I started posting on X about ghost daycares in California.
I love it. I cannot wait to find out what you have seen and been able to uncover. So let's just get into it because we know California's in a deficit. Our money has just been thrown down the toilet and used as these people's own monopoly money. So tell us that all the information. What have you found, girl?
I was really inspired by Nick Shirley and what he was doing in Minnesota. Everybody remembers those viral videos. He showed up with his phone and he just started knocking on daycare doors. And when they answered, there weren't any kids inside. And I'm a state licensed private investigator in California. And I thought, how can I replicate that here in California? I thought, you know what? I'm going to look at the public records. And when you go to the Department of Social Services, Daycare Licensing Division for California, there are detailed reports. So this isn't me saying this. This is the state of California inspectors who are showing up at these daycares in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, and there are 14 kids enrolled, but there are 0 present.
How does this even happen? Like, I know for a lot of I'm here in South and we have something called family resources and referral, and there are like check-ins. There's supposed to be checks and balances, and especially if it's subsidized by the state, the county, all of those things. How is this even like a thing?
So here's how the money flows. It comes from the feds to the state, and then the state gives it to nonprofits at the county level, and then the county pays these daycares. And that's where it stops for transparency. So we can't do a public request on a non-government organization. So we have no idea how much money is even going to these daycares. And I'm going to tell you a couple things that are really shocking. And I know how hard you fought for the reopening of schools and against vaccine mandates, just like I did with Reopen San Diego. And this is going to be shocking what I'm about to tell you. You probably already know because this was a Senate bill. Currently, until mid 2026, there are daycares that can say, oh, well, before the lockdowns, I had 20 kids, and now I have 0 kids, and the state pays them as if COVID is still a thing, and they can operate a daycare basically being empty or nearly empty and get COVID benefits. That's number one. Number two, there's something called the alternative payment program, and that's for people who are low income. They can get free or reduced childcare. And they also, these daycares get paid by the state. And I'll tell you about a federal case if you want to hear one.
Absolutely. Let's hear it.
So we had our own learning center right here in California that was busted. It was called UMI Learning Center. And in 2024, there were 4 co-defendants. The lead guy was the president of this place, Muhammad Muridi Muhammad. He is Somalian. And basically, what went down at the learning center was he falsified, and this is all according to the Department of Justice, and he's already been convicted. So this isn't me saying it. He falsified 150 students being at the learning center that didn't exist. And then here's the kicker. He had a kickback scheme with the parents. So the parents were getting a little bit in return for saying that their kids were there. He has to pay 3.7 million in restitution.
This is just so unbelievable. But it's what happens when we have so much bureaucracy, so many different agencies, so many different NGOs that have no checks and balances. Like, this money is just gone. Meanwhile, right, we have families who really could use the help of having some daycare help and being able to send their children to a safe environment while they're going, to work or to school, whatever the issue is. This is Gavin's, California, that does nothing for families, working class families. It does nothing but hurt us. It's so infuriating that he's over at Davos talking about how awful the United States is under President Trump, and all of these things, telling the whole nation, yes, we give health care to illegal immigrants, but now we have to pay $1.1 billion back to the federal government because of this. Where are we going to get that kind of money? It's so upside down. I'm so mad about this.
They want to get the money from us.
Yes.
And I had an email just the other day from the New York Times reaching out to me about this story. And I know what everybody's thinking, like, do not talk to the New York Times. I get it. I realize that they're going to do a hit piece on me. The San Diego Union Tribune already did a front page story, a hit piece on me, and also Nick Shirley. But the fact of the matter is, I told this reporter, I'm like, here's what drives us in California. We're drowning.
Mhm.
They just want more and more and more from us. More county taxes, more city taxes. They want to charge us. Gavin Newsom wants to charge us per mile statewide with all of that surveillance tech every time you drive, just to charge us. What's next? They're going to charge us for walking too. I mean, we need to have transparency. We need to know where the money is going before they can even dare to ask us for even more.
Isn't it funny? We're in this space where, it's down with the corporations, eat the rich, all of these things about millionaires and billionaires. Yet the people that mainstream media protects, the people that Gavin Newsom protects, are the corporations and the millionaires. Well, people like you are a private investigator. You are reporting what you have found. And instead of talking about the big elephant in the room, it's, hey, let's figure out some dirt on Amy and see how we can come at her and discredit her. I mean, it's ridiculous. Thank God, though, honestly, like, after COVID, after a lot of things that have happened within the last few years, people have very much lost trust within the mainstream media, within all of these agencies that continue to just gaslight us and cover up what people in legislation and appointed positions in these NGOs they're complicit in covering this up. Meanwhile, they want to attack you and Nick Shirley for having your iPhone, getting ready to go see, why is our money being spent like this? It's backwards.
Well, I think about people like you, right? And you've been fighting now for 10 years. I really just got started in 2020. and how much you've been censored during that time. And then I'm really glad that we have X now, right?
Yes.
Because here's what I believe. Just a couple years ago, I used to get upset. I would watch the TV news. I don't watch the TV news anymore, actually, because they weren't telling our stories, Denise. They
Yeah.
were censoring us, or they just flat out weren't telling us. And I just remember I'd pick up our local paper and I would just kind of like shake my fist. And then I realized that they had created this incredible vacuum, and that there were people that were hungry for the kind of stories that you're telling, Denise, and that I'm telling. I'm breaking stories, you're breaking stories. We have whistleblowers coming forward. They're mad at us because of how much reach we have, but they're the mainstream media. They created us.
They absolutely did. I mean, I've had 17 Instagram accounts. And it's not because I want to get on and have a following and do all these things. It's because I have found out some very awful things that go on in politics. I mean, I am behind the scenes. I'm talking to legislators. Tara and I are working around the clock on some bills. And, we now have this opportunity because of X. I mean, when Tara and I found out, I want to say in 2023, we found out through a FOIA request that was launched through Judicial Watch that the state of California sent a letter to Facebook and Instagram to censor our Instagram accounts to take us down. So
Whoa.
it wasn't just like, oh, they're censored because they talk about certain things. This was a direct attack by the state of California under Gavin Newsom to take us off of social media because of the things that we were talking about. And what we were talking about is, it's not like a conspiracy theory, right? Because you and I, we know, we come with receipts. We have all of the things that people need to know and how to get involved. Yet we're taken off. I mean, the Southern Poverty Law Group called me a terrorist. Like,
Wow.
because we are moms, just two moms, Tara and I, who are like, we've learned and trained ourselves in politics. And now we have been able to kind of build ourselves within the ecosystem of legislators, and they just can't have that. I remember 276, we had a huge protest at the Capitol. We locked our friends to the front doors of the Capitol building, and only one news station reported on it because they
Yeah.
couldn't let know what was going on. I mean, the mainstream media is dead. We know that. We've seen it time and time again. And so I'm glad that we're actually have this ability to go on and tell people what's going on.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm glad that I could not even talk about masks or vaccines on Facebook. I didn't even open up my Instagram until 2022. And yeah, I was on Twitter before it became X, but not posting what I really wanted because I knew it was going to get me banned. But I think what that did was it forced like you and Tara and me down here in San Diego and my co-founders with Reopen San Diego to find other ways to reach people. So during the lockdowns, we used to do these speakeasies.
I love
And
that. How
yeah,
fun.
and we would have comedians perform that were out of work, musicians that were out of work. We would have speakers, and you know what? I never got COVID. So, and I know this is going to be on YouTube, so I'm going to be careful about what I say
I know
from
it's
here
hit.
on out.
I know we kind of
Anyway,
about that stuff. But so okay, so
I don't care about the, what I mean is I don't want you to get censored.
yeah, no,
So, yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So okay, so what you have seen throughout different like Nick Shirley and different investigations happening in California. I know Benny Johnson was here, right? Did you have a chance to connect with him?
You know, he just stuck to Los Angeles. It was great, but I wound up having a great conversation with him over the phone and with the team. So they're going to come back for sure. But really, what I've revealed is right down here in San Diego. So it didn't really go with his content that he was exposing in Los Angeles.
So what's next then? So all this stuff is now, you're digging. I
Mhm.
know you're going to keep on digging. So what's next, and how can we bring a big spotlight to what is happening in it, not just in San Diego, but just across the state? Because if it's happening there, it's happening at other places.
Well, what I learned from my Reopen San Diego days, when all else fails, take them to federal court. So a little bit of background, Reopen San Diego, we filed against the city of San Diego in federal court over their mandates, and we won. So here's where we're at with these ghost daycares. We are unable to follow the money. I have sent requests to the NGOs who are the contractors to the state of California who actually pay these daycares. It's the YMCA of San Diego and it's Child Care Development Associates of San Diego. And I reached out to their executive director and they sent me back emails basically telling me to go pound sand. So I'm having conversations with attorneys who are very motivated to serve subpoenas on these organizations. So that's going to be phase 2.
I love that. So, Amy, where can people find you? How can they connect with you if they have information and they're like, yo, Amy, I need to like let you know what's going on. Tell people how they can find you before we break off here.
So I'm actually one of those people. I actually look at my messages on X, on Instagram. Facebook, though, that's a mess. So send me a message through Instagram. My handle is at Amy for San Diego. That's
Oh no. Right when she was giving her
also on X at the same handle, AMYFOR San Diego. And again, I check my messages.
Thank you, Amy. You kind of like got off for just a second, but you're back. So we're good. Okay. Amy, I want to thank you so much for talking about this and uncovering it. I cannot wait to see what else we can help with and what we can do to bring a balance to California. I appreciate you so much. Oh, weird. Okay, I don't know what happened here. Removed from stage. All right, so I hope that you guys can hear me. Please let me know if my mic is on because we were having a little bit of problems with her setup earlier. So, I cannot wait till we start bringing a huge spotlight on what is happening in California. Now, we're going to talk about a little bit what happened at Davos. So, um, all of you guys know Gavin Newsom was over there talking about how awful the United States is and how everyone needs to ignore Trump and all these things. But one of the things, the arguments that we have heard time and time again is that illegal immigrants cannot get healthcare services. We've seen that on CNN. We've seen it on all of these different mainstream media sites. And it's not true. I mean, Gavin went on Davos and just said he's, so proud of the progressive taxes that Californians pay and that we give services to people regardless of their status. And the way that this is done is through emergency room services. So I'm going to try to get this person on, but he was doing a like expose on how Medi-Cal and Medicaid are getting scammed to pay for healthcare for illegal immigrants. Now, he says this is being done through the emergency room services. Now, I don't know if you guys ever seen this video, but when the raids started happening, when I started going out and doing these raids, there were medical professionals who were at like LA hospital, that were at LA hospital, and she recorded it. And she's like, "There's nobody here. How is this happening? People are too scared to come get emergency services." This is how they use it. It's being done as like just regular, ear infection or sinus infection. It's being used as primary care. And so now we have the federal government, Trump is saying, hey, if you can't prove that these people are citizens, then you have now committed fraud, insurance fraud through Medi-Cal and Medicaid. You have to pay back $1.1 billion. California is in a huge deficit. Who do you think is going to pay that back? Meanwhile, I have a 27-year-old daughter. Okay, she works 3 jobs, and she has to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for her services, her medical services, her healthcare services, eye checks, all of these things. I have a mother-in-law that can't afford to go to the doctor and get the medication that she needs. This is, it reminds me of like the airplane stuff where it's like, if you can't, you need to put on your own oxygen before you take care of other people. And I know everyone gets so mad about this subject. I know immigration is a really, really touchy subject, but when it's impacting the way that our families, the way it is, like I said, my daughter can't even get health insurance. We have to figure out how we're going to create a pathway to citizenship. Democrats have been talking about this forever, but haven't really done it. Instead, they created things like DACA. Now, the other day, I shared something on how California, let's see, do I have it? California bill, gosh, what is the bill number? It allows, I don't have it right here. It allows for DACA recipients to be police officers when they can't even legally carry a firearm. I mean, California is just a hot mess, and I just don't understand how, I don't understand how people can actually support these policies, but they don't, because all they're doing is the mainstream media, all of these people are reporting things that tug at heartstrings instead of actually bringing some solutions to the table. It's very, very, very annoying. Now, on to one of my most favorite subjects. As you guys know, I got involved in politics heavily in 2015. And before that, in 2012, I started learning about vaccines. I started learning about politics, how to be involved in civics, because this isn't taught to us. Schools don't teach this. As an adult, most of us, unless it directly impacts us, we never experience what politics actually is. And so 2015 comes around, and my husband takes me to a protest at the Capitol. This is for SB 277. And I've never seen that type of movement before. Like even now, like even though we had a lot of people at all of our protests and we have tons of people at our grassroots stuff, um, I've never seen the amount of people show up the way they did for SB 277. The lines were out the door. There was thousands of people there because parents want an option. They want to be able to say, yes, I want to let my kid go through this vaccine program, or no, we're going to opt out. But one of the things that many of us deal with when we decide to opt out of the program is doctors who do get paid per, child who's all up to date. And we have to deal with doctors kicking us out if our child isn't up to date, coercing us and bullying us and all of those things. And so between the insurance companies, the doctors, the politicians, and all of these appointed people, it's really difficult in California to opt out of the vaccine program unless you have like a plan B and you are, homeschooling, you basically don't ask anything of the state. It's really difficult to do that. And that's because money is always part of this, right? It's always like a thing. Now, very exciting to see today. Is it today? I think it was today. The American Academy of Pediatrics is being sued by Children's Health Defense. I mean, I don't know. I don't CHD. Let me pull them up right now. I don't know, but this is just brings me complete happiness. 2026 is going to be one of those years that we are going to see a complete reform and revolution of what's happening, because I feel eventually, we already know what's going to happen, that the 1986 Act is going to be abolished, which this is what we need. So this is coming from Children's Health Defense. The AAP is being sued for violating RICO statutes. They were acting cahoots for financial gain with the vaccine companies, and they are accused of operating a decade-long racketeering scheme. And this is all coming allegedly from Children's Health Defense. Are any of us actually surprised? Honestly, the AAP has done nothing but really push their weight to do a few things. The first thing, I don't know if you guys remember, a few years ago, right before COVID, I think, the American Academy of Pediatrics released a letter of recommendations for all states to get rid of personal belief exemptions. This is so incredibly dangerous. And I'm going to explain what we have in California of a sense of medical exemptions. Okay, it is not, we don't have any, basically. We have no functional exemptions because this is the way it goes. So, personal belief exemptions, this is what the AAP wants. Those are gone. Religious exemptions, those are gone. Medical exemptions it doesn't mean that a doctor is going to write you an exemption and that's going to be the end of it and you get opted out of everything. That is so far from the truth of what this actually does. Doctors here in California under SB 277 in 2019, this is a recommendation of the AAP, is that medical exemptions were put in place only. Now, doctors are only allowed to write, I believe, 4 or 5 medical exemptions in their practice. Now, if they write an exemption, their medical license then gets flagged. And if they write too many, the medical board will remove their license. We have seen this time and time again. We had all the doctors who take care of vaccine injured children have had to leave the state in order to practice because the state just came down with them with a hammer. So during SB 276, there was a collusion between the state of California and the California Department of Public Health. And now, if you want a medical exemption, there's only 3 ways that a child can be opted out of a vaccine. And that is through if that child has suffered coma, anaphylactic shock, or encephalitis. Those are the only ways that a child is going to be exempt from needing a shot. Now, they're only exempt from the one shot that caused that. Everything else they have to get. No more is there family history. No more is there personal history of allergies. No more personal history of eczema, because if you guys remember the AAP a long time ago, they recommended that if a child who had eczema, or if a child had eczema, they are not to have be part of that program. And so that is all out the window now. Along with that, the local public health officer collects these exemptions from the schools, sifts through it, make sure a child deserves those exemptions. Otherwise, the exemption is revoked. So once 276 was implemented very quickly, and then COVID hit. So very quickly, like 2022, schools started getting notices from the county public health department saying we need those exemptions, and then saying no, you do not you do not get that. So now being able to see that CHD is in fact now suing AAP is bringing me complete joy. I mean, it should have been done a long time ago. What I'm hoping, though, and what we've already seen, there's a resolution right now in Congress that would end the 1986 Act and end shielding the vaccine manufacturers from lawsuits and giving them liability. This is the only product that has complete immunity from lawsuits. How is this the only product? And it's the only product that's mandated for children to go to public and private school in some states is beyond me. Let's see. So someone, question right here on immigration. Where was Newsom and Dem legislators and activists outraged when Biden sent ICE through the valley right before Trump's inauguration? They were not told to be mad. Okay, they were not told to be upset. There were so many really great programs here. My family came here from Mexico. They went to Texas and they came here. My grandfather was part of the Bracero program that gave immigrants the opportunity to come here and work. He and my grandmother, my mom was a farm worker also as a young kid. So they all worked with Cesar Chavez. And what we see people talking about Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers Union on his position on immigration and how he did not he didn't want illegal immigration because it was driving down the wages for the people who were working here and allowing for slave labor. I mean, this is just the same thing over and over again. And so when people get so upset about these policies, it's like, don't you want something that some kind of pathway to citizenship that gives opportunities for families, that gives opportunities for work. Instead, we do have people who are completely outraged, but they're quiet when it comes to like what Gavin did, like you said, right before, or Biden did right before inauguration. I'm in the Valley, I'm in the Central Valley, and they were sending them out here to cause confusion and to cause fear and to just start splitting and dividing people. And they did a really excellent job, I have to say. One of the things about the Democrat Party, I have to say, is what happened. I have no idea. Sorry, guys. I think I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, but they are very, very good at causing these types of things. Instead of bringing solutions to the table, it's creating nothing but chaos. And, hopefully throughout this discussion and this podcast, I can tell you guys the things that are actually happening are a lot worse than what you might think. I mean, the special interest groups that are at the Capitol, there is one in particular that Tara and I have just completely realized it is such a scam. It is Equality California. Now, this is the lobby group that is for LGBT, under the umbrella of helping LGBT community members, but it's really just a strong arm of many different people, including Scott Wiener, to implement really nasty ass policies. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of these people trying to make us feel like, especially us women, trying to make us feel like, how dare us want to have a safe place for our girls, for the girls' sports, for women's prisons. And I hate it that nobody really cares about the incarcerated women. And I know, I get it, right? Like, we're all just trying to get along and deal with life. We're trying to deal with the way our state is. We're trying to deal with all the things. Nobody really wants to think about incarcerated women. Okay, I hear it all the time. Well, maybe they shouldn't have done the crime and all these things. Doing a crime does not mean that you have to be forced into state sanctioned assault, because that's what California has, SB 132. And I talk about this a lot because it's just like, here, we worked on it for so long. We worked on trying to correct it. We worked on trying to work with the Democrats on it. SB 132 obviously was written by Senator Scott Wiener. And it lets men who say they're women transfer to the women's facility, but it's not even catering to the demographic that it was originated for. Tara and I work very closely with the women's community in Chowchilla. We also work really closely with the trans community in Vacaville, and they do not want to go to the women's facility because they told us they know how dangerous it is. Women who are incarcerated have a higher rate of domestic violence, of having violence against them. And now they do crimes, they go to prison, they're trying to do their time. And now, without even talking to them, the state of California has created a huge loophole to allow predator men who, know that there's loopholes, and then get transferred over to the women's facility. And these women, they have nowhere to go, right? They're rats in a cage. Meanwhile, you, the taxpayers, we are paying for condoms, for Plan B pills, we're paying for abortions, we're paying for all of these things because Gavin and Scott Wiener and the Democrats do not want to address this issue. It is honestly the most disgusting and inhumane law that we actually have. We have a lot of nasty laws here in California, but this is the most inhumane one. It's really important to know how that, even if you don't care about incarcerated women, you should care that this is a testing ground to just allow this kind of thing to happen. And if you have girls, if you have little girls, if you have a wife, if you have a mother, you should know this is already here, right? We already know that they've created so many different loopholes that allow for dangerous situations. And now we have to wait. We literally got told by a legislator, we have to wait until Scott Wiener goes to Congress in order to address what is going on in the women's facility. How is this a thing? How are these people able to go to sleep at night, especially the women legislators? They know it's happening. We know it's happening. There's a really great documentary on YouTube. I believe it's called Cruel and Unusual Punishment. And my friend Amy, who runs Woman to Woman, she's part of it. They do interviews with the guards, they do interviews with the female inmates, and they uncover a lot of things that should not be happening in the United States. When Gavin goes on the world stage and he talks about Trump's policies and how inhumane he is and all of these things, he fails to tell you how inhumane he is in violating basic human rights and allowing women who are incarcerated to be assaulted, to get pregnant by their assaulter. There's even allegations that one of the predators is spreading HIV throughout the prison. Beyond just these crimes against women, in the women's facility, the water is toxic. Okay, so they can't even drink it, and they have to drink it out of water bottles. It's amazing. Gavin and his administration like to play minority communities and like to pretend like, oh, we're here to make sure that vulnerable communities are protected from predator correctional officers, yet they allow these guys to just stay there, and we're paying for it. That's, even if you don't care about the women in there, you should care that your tax money, $4 million of it got spent on facial feminization surgery, hair removal. And these guys don't go to like a in-house like waxer. They go to Beverly Hills. And the cost to even transport the inmates from the prison to Beverly Hills is astonishing. We actually asked for a third option to open up the Stockton facility here. It's a medical facility that cares for like complex health issues. We said, hey, if this is your hill, at least create this third option that doesn't put women into this position, but also like doesn't cost the taxpayers so much money to where they don't have to be transferred over, do it in-house. But none of this matters because they like to spend our money like monopoly money. It's very, very frustrating, the state of where we're at. And we are being gaslit by different, politicians and media and all these people to believe that this is not really happening, right? Californians are not really suffering at the hands of awful, awful leadership that uses us and, doesn't care about any of it. I don't know. I walked away from the Democrat Party. I mean, I was raised second generation American. I was raised Catholic, raised a Democrat, never asked any questions of it. Even my mom is a lifelong Democrat. And a couple years, this last election, she switched her party and she hated it. She did not appreciate having to change her party to Republican, but they left her no choice. My mom is a Catholic. She is a Catholic. She is, like I said, she was a farm worker. She worked really hard with Cesar Chavez for the movement. And she sat there with me. Like before my mom started realizing what was going on, I was just the Looney Tune of the family, right? I'm going to protests. I'm speaking at events. I'm doing all of these things. Mind you, I never even touched politics when I was younger. All the way up to 30 years old, I was a gangbanger in Stockton. I never thought about this kind of stuff until it directly impacted me. And so in all these years of me doing the things that I'm doing, my mom always thought I was just like this crazy person. I lost a lot of relationships within my family because of my position on, vaccines and all those things. My mom is, like I said, she was a Democrat her whole life, Kennedy Democrat. She was so impressed when I was when I worked alongside Robert F. Kennedy Jr. here at the Capitol, and she was like, "Oh my God, Mija, I can't believe it! I can't believe you're doing this. This is amazing." And so she came to one of the protests, and I'm speaking on stage, and there's thousands of people there, and she came up and she's like, "I'm so sorry for treating you like this. Like, I'm sorry for not believing you." So in all these years, my mom's finally sat down, and her and I talked about the different positions of Democrats, Republicans. And she said, it's really sad that we can't have a discussion about politics or religion because people don't know how to talk about it. And I always say this, right? We're always told not to talk about these things. And now this is what happens when we don't talk about these things. People don't know how to have a conversation, not even a debate, but just a conversation of points of view. And so my mom was having a very hard time dealing with the things that she was seeing, because again, she never looked until I started looking. Hardcore Dem. She would never, never, ever vote for a Republican. She did not like Trump. She was just like, no, until this last election. And she realized how the Democrat Party has left us. They've left the Latino community. They have left the white community, Black community, Asian. They've left everybody, and they have went so extreme. And so when I get people saying, "I can't believe that you would consider yourself a conservative. I can't believe that you're not a Democrat." And it's so strange that they correlate the color of my skin to a political party. And when I sit there and I ask them, like, what have they done for us? What exactly have they done for us that has created policies that have made our lives better? And nobody can answer what it is. Everyone always responds with me, but Trump, but this, but that. And it's never, what have they done for us? They haven't done anything for me. They've done nothing for my family except make life harder. And so my mom, this last election, she was like, "I'm going to have to register as a Republican, and I don't want to do that. I'm a Kennedy Democrat." And okay, Mom. I said, "Well, voting for Trump is a vote for Robert F. Kennedy. Unfortunately, the Democrats did what they do best, and they pushed Kennedy out, and he was who I really wanted, because I love him so much. He's so amazing. But this is what they've done, is they've pushed people away from the party. And honestly, Latinos are conservative. We are conservative. We just don't know it yet, right? We believe in life. We believe in hard work. We believe in family. And that is completely opposite of what we are experiencing with this party now. It's very sad. But it's good for us, right? Like for people like me, because my mom, lifelong Democrat, farm worker, all the things. And she's like, "I'm never going to vote for a Democrat ever again." She unfortunately does find Gavin Newsom's hair attractive. But other than that, my mom is done doing this. And I think a lot of people, I mean, shit, that's how Trump won, right? A huge majority of Latinos voted for him because we're tired of having our vote used for, and nothing ever comes for us. Nobody is better off in this situation in California, and we're a super majority. We have been for a very long time. So hopefully some things change here in the state. People like Amy bringing a huge spotlight to the situation of fraud in different places and daycares within Medi-Cal, within Medicaid. I mean, at this point, the federal government has no other choice but to step in. And I hope that they stop funding for California. They need to stop it, because our money is just going absolutely nowhere. So I am very excited. I hope that you share this podcast, because next week is going to be fire. We are going to have Attorney Michael Gates. He is running for Attorney General here in California. I believe he was on the council in Huntington Beach, and he is running because Rob Bonta, I don't even know how he's even still here, considering the money that he's used to pay for legal fees, for investigation, his ties to what happened in Oakland and all of the fraud happening there. We're waiting, okay, because I'm so tired of hearing like all of the problems. We know the problems. We need them to come here for arrest. But anyways, we're going to have him on next week. We are also going to have my very good friend. I love him. He has changed. He was part of changing my whole outlook on vaccines, politics. Basically, he was part of the change in my life. Dr. Brian Hooker, he is he's an author. He did such amazing work with vaxxed and unvaxxed. I mean, we're going to talk about the recommendations that are coming down from a federal level through ACIP, what is happening with these RICO charges for the AAP. We're going to talk about all that stuff. That's going to be on Wednesday. And then we're going to have my friend Christina Irwin. She is running for Senate. She's running for Ben Allen's seat in the Palisades. And she has a lot of information of what's going on out there and the fires that happened out there. And then we're going to have Sonia Shaw, who is running for State Superintendent of Public Education. She is also the president of Chino Valley School District, and she was part of the group that brought the parental notification, and Rob Bonta and Gavin Newsom coming after them with lawsuits, and they lost. We have some great people that are going to be joining us for the conversation. So please share it, share the podcast live on X. We are here every day, 3:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on X under Inform Mama 209. You can also watch the replay at on Instagram under Denise.theinformedmama. We're going to put it right here. And you can also go to my website, theinformmama.org, and see who I am, what I do, all of the events that are coming near you, and how you can start getting activated in politics. I hope this podcast finds you well every single day. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much for joining it. And you can go over to my YouTube channel, subscribe, The California Brief with Denise. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow at 3:00 Pacific Standard Time. Have a great day, guys.